We've listened to your suggestions on who should make the second list of the toughest riders of all time and taken note. So sit back and marvel at the exploits of these five, as inspirational as they are as hard as granite. Two Pro World Road Race titles and 3 Tour de France victories only tell half the story for American living legend Greg LeMond, whose ascendancy to the very pinnacle of the sport was a rapid one. In 1979, he became the Junior World Road Champion. In 1983, he was World Pro Road Race Champion before, in 1986, he became the first ever American to win the Tour de France. And that was despite being repeatedly attacked by his teammates and defending Tour de France champion Bernard Hinault. In the spring of 1987, LeMond was nearly killed in a hunting accident where he was shot at close range by a relative, nearly losing 65% of his blood. Now, the road to recovery was a long and painful one, and the 1987 and 1988 seasons were effectively written off. But with rigorous determination and mental fortitude, he fought his way back to fitness, despite still having 35 shotgun pellets embedded in his body. A level of fitness, in fact, that saw him return to his very best, taking out the 1989 and 1990 editions of the Tour de France. One of the most physically and mentally resilient riders of all time, Alfonsina Strada, also became the only woman to compete a Grand Tour. And that Grand Tour was the Giro D'Italia in 1924. Now, not only did she ride the Giro D'Italia, but she completed the 3,614 kilometre course on a bicycle that was bought for her as a wedding present, defying the socially considered norms of the time. Despite crashing and repairing her handlebars with a broom handle and riding to the point of exhausted collapse, she somehow made it over some of the most brutal terrain, enduring awful weather conditions to the finish in Milan. Now, of the 90 starters, only around a third finished, including Alfonsina, a true pioneer and trailblazer for women and women's sport. The Lion of Flanders is widely accepted as one of the ultimate hard men of cycling, displaying throughout his career the real attributes of a true Flandrian. Someone who, despite the tough conditions, never gives up and has the characteristics of a fighter. A world road champion, 3 times a winner of Paris Roubaix, 3 times a winner of the Tour of Flanders, Museeuw exemplified the Flandrian spirit. In the 1998 edition of Paris Roubaix, on the notorious Forest of Arenberg sector, Museeuw took an absolutely disastrous and horrible fall, breaking his left kneecap. But worse, incredibly, was still to come as gangrene set into the leg, leaving it perilously close to being amputated. Yet, he fought on and recovered to start riding soon after, and in 1999 finished 3rd in the Tour of Flanders and finished 9th in Paris Roubaix, exactly 1 year after that horrible fall. In 2000, he won Paris Roubaix for the second time, soloing 44 kilometres to victory on the Roubaix velodrome. And as he crossed the line, he lifted his left leg and pointed it to his knee, a reminder of the injury that nearly ended his career 2 years earlier. With much of his career still stretching out in front of him, Welshman Geraint Thomas has already ridden himself into the pantheon of a cycling hardman. He's one of the rare breed of rider who excels at all disciplines and on all terrains, as well as having the ability to persevere and bounce back against the odds. Take the 2013 Tour de France, where he crashed really heavily on the opening stage and actually broke his pelvis. Yet he continued on to the finish in Paris, ultimately helping teammate Chris Froome to victory. Then there was a descent on the 2015 edition of the Tour de France, where he was taken out by Warren Barguil, face planted a telegraph pole, but then brushed it off to run himself straight back into contention. And who can forget the windswept edition of the 2015 Ghent-Wevelgem, where Thomas was blown clean off his bike into a ditch, but clambered back straight on to the podium, as hard as nails. The fact that the last of Beryl Burton's multiple records took 50 years to be broken gives you a glimpse onto why the hardy Yorkshire-born and bred all-rounder has made it onto this list. Now, her childhood was actually blighted by a 15-month spell in hospital being treated for rheumatic fever, but that didn't stop her from becoming nothing short of a cycling phenomenon. Over the course of her quite incredible career, she amassed an amazing set of palmares, including 2 world road titles, 5 world pursuit titles, as well as dominating the British scene. 72 time trial titles, 10 road titles, and 10 track titles to her name. One of the defining moments of her career, underlining her physical prowess, came in 1967, when she set a new 12-hour time trial record of 277.25 miles, beating the men's national record at the time by just under a mile. A true national treasure. So there you go, 5 more of the toughest, hardest cyclists ever to pedal a bicycle. But I've no doubt you've got some more that you'd like to add to the list. You know what to do? Leave them down in the comment section. And if you haven't already subscribed to the Global Cycling Network, you can do so for free by clicking on the globe, and that way you won't miss another video. Now, talking of other videos, how about clicking just down here for our top 4 toughest cyclists in the world, and just down here for our top 10 inspirational cycling quotes. And don't forget to like and share.